How's it going, my true people? Dr. Slacking, the Slacking Doctor, back with our second battle in the NPL Tryout Tournament. Now, I have to apologize. I know this battle is going up late. Today is Tuesday. I'm recording this, and I said it would be up by Saturday. The battle was played on time and everything like that. Unfortunately, I've just been having a little bit of difficulty in my personal life, and I had to go home for a few days. So you may notice that the lighting is terrible in this video, that the backdrop behind me is different in this video, and that's because I'm actually at my mum's house right now. I went home to spend a little bit of time with my family just because of everything that was going on. So unfortunately, that meant that recording this got pushed back, uploading this got pushed back, and everything else. I'm hoping this will either go up tonight, being Tuesday, or tomorrow, being Wednesday. Hopefully, you'll see it one of those 2 days, if I can get it up tonight. But that's the plan. As I say, I apologize for it being late. It's just some real life stuff that I had to sort out. But I've sorted that out now, and let's get started on this. Let's not waste any more time. So this time we're going up against my man Bash. His channel will be linked down in the description. I didn't know him going to the NPL tournament, but I spoke to him a little bit in the chat before and after our game, and he seems like one of the nicest people I've met in the community. Super cool guy. So I definitely recommend going to check out his side of the battle. His side has already been uploaded. I know that for sure because I've already watched it on his channel. And he makes good content too, so definitely go check that out, guys. But let's look at his team here. He has Victini, Suicune, Komodo, Sylveon, Nidoking, Raikou, Mega Aerodactyl, Registeel, Sneasel, and Lurantis. And his Z captains are Lurantis, Sneasel, and the Komodo. So looking at his team, he has some really amazing kind of breaker threats in Victini, Komodo. Komodo also has a kind of setup set. Suicune is that kind of like defensive calm mind setup set, potential pressure stall. Sylveon is a kind of wish passer to all of these bulkier mons too. Nidoking with the Toxic Spikes and Rocks kind of has a stack. Mega Aerodactyl is a good rock setter if it can force things to switch. Registeel is a very reliable rock setter because that thing doesn't die in one hit to pretty much anything in this format. And then he's got nice pivot potential with things like Raikou and Baton Pass, Sylveon, U-Turn, Victini, and Priority and Sneasel. So I really think actually this is a really solid draft. It's a relatively shallow draft in terms of I think you only drafted 10 mons, is it? But still a really good draft. Every mon on here is very solid, which I think every good draft should have in my opinion. So there isn't a mon here that you can kind of neglect in prep too much. Lurantis and Sneasel being the obvious weak links, but not super weak links at all. They still have their place on a draft. So what we really looked at is things like the Victini, the Suicune, the Komodo, the Sylveon, the Raikou, and the Mega Aerodactyl, and to some extent the Registeel. The Nidoking and the Lurantis and Sneasel were kind of at the back of our thoughts. The Raikou even a little bit at the back of our thoughts. The other threats were kind of the major concerns. So, kicking us off on our team, we have Elliot the Bronzong here. We actually gone for Heat Proof this week just because I don't think the Earthquake coverage or even ground coverage makes a lot of sense against my team anyway. I mean, if you look at my team here, nothing is weak to ground, and he doesn't have the best ground stab other than Nidoking, which can happily run its Poison Stab. So I didn't feel like he would bother to run ground coverage on, say, the Mega Aerodactyl or anything else. So I didn't feel like Levitate was really worthwhile here. Yes, if Nidoking comes, it might have the Earth Power, but a Bronzong doesn't really want to be in a Nidoking anyway, and chances are, if you've got a Nidoking and a Bronzong, you might get a bit cheeky and click Flamethrower or Fire Blast anyway. So we've gone for the Heat Proof here because we just think it makes sense with my team synergy actually to kind of bluff the Levitate, but actually have the Heat Proof. In some weird worlds, we might take some hits from Victini because of that. Obviously, it's not a full immunity, it just halves the damage, but it still makes a bit of a difference on some of those rolls on certain Pokemon. Certainly things like Nidoking wouldn't be able to hit us as hard with Fire Blast, for example. Fire Fang, things like that. So we've got Gyro Ball, Zen Headbutt, Stealth Rock, Toxic on this set. It's a really bulky defensive set. The idea being with quite a bit of offense. The Zen Headbutt hits Komodo really hard. I want to try and put that thing in range of my priority user on this team, which we'll get to a little bit later, or some of my things that outspeed it. Komodo can potentially sweep this team, so I have to be really careful how I play around Komodo. And I wanted to make sure that the only thing on my team that it can set up on is Bronzong, and I wanted to make sure that Bronzong actually would be able to hit it really hard with that Zen Headbutt, potentially Okoing it. I can't quite remember the rolls because it has been a few days. But the Gyro Ball as well, being powered up against the Sylveon, even though Sylveon's fairly slow, it's still going to do a little chunk, but particularly the Mega Aerodactyl, I believe this means that we Oko Mega Aerodactyl, we Oko Sneasel, and I think they were the main two. Yeah, they were the main two that we wanted to hit with that Gyro Ball, just so we can kind of take them out. And with the Cobble Berry, we can take a Crunch from the Mega Aerodactyl, which I do think if you're running over Earthquake, for example, and we can then take a knockoff from the Sneasel and hit them both with a really hard Gyro Ball. The Mega Aerodactyl in particular, I kind of want to bait with this set because I just want that thing gone. It outspeeds my whole team, and it's a really big problem for me to handle defensively. So this is kind of like bait for Mega Aerodactyl with the Cobble Berry and the Gyro Ball. It's also just a reliable rock setter and Toxic, so that the Suicune, for example, if it's not a subset, we can try and hit Suicune with a Toxic too. Next up, we have Strumpful the Mega Beedrill, currently in its non-Mega Evolved form here, but it is a Mega Beedrill, of course. We are able to run Adamant in this matchup because I think between his Raikou and his Mega Aerodactyl, there was nothing, so that went from 110 up to like 150. So we were able to run like quite a bulky Adamant set here, which is really, really nice with the Poison Drab, Drill Run, Toxic Spikes, and U-Turn. I didn't feel like we needed any more coverage beyond the Drill Run for the Registeel, the Poison Stab, and the Bug Stab, but I did think the Toxic Spikes, if I could get them up and poison things like the Suicune, could be amazing here, and the Sylveon to wear those things down. I just have to be brave enough this game to click it, unlike last game. Then we have Mandibuzz here with the Eject Button. Now this set is really, really fun. The idea here is with Mandibuzz with the Eject Button, this thing, max defense, just switches in on Victini, never gets 2-hit KO'd by non-banned Teeny, or certainly Scarf Teeny never 2-hit KOs us. We get the Eject Button so we can pivot out, and I'll get onto why we want that in a second, but we can basically use this thing as a free sponge. Mandibuzz eats hits from so many things. This mon is so bulky that we just throw it out there with the Eject Button, we get ejected back out, and we go into something more useful. A weird way of getting momentum with Knockoff on here, just to make sure that we can hit the Victini if we need to be able to hit the Victini, and potentially get rid of its Scarf as well, which might be useful, or its Shed Shell. But also things that might want to switch in a Mandibuzz are like the Registeel, like the Raikou, like the Victini might want to stay in to try and break us down. If we can get rid of any of their Shed Shells, because all three of those might have Shed Shells, then that would be very useful for the next one on the team. Obviously, we have Whirlwind on here to phase out things like the Kimono that could set up on us otherwise, and the Suicune, which could set up on us otherwise. Roost for longevity, U-turn for momentum. But this is why we need to get rid of those potential Shed Shells, because we have our Trapping Dug trio here. Has H and Harry, my boy, coming through the Earthquake, Stone Edge, Toxic, Stealth Rock. Again, able to run Adamant because of his speed tiers. I actually don't know if this outspeeds Raikou, or if I was just relying on the fact that I didn't care about outspeeding Raikou. I'm guessing Raikou is 110 speed from memory, so I don't think this would outspeed. I think I just decided that I didn't care about outspeeding Raikou in this case. I don't think HPI is kills, and this thing never takes more than one hit anyway, so I guess I just didn't care. We wanted to run Adamant, though, to make sure we could really do the most damage to everything we could, with a little bit of HP investment. As I say, not that it makes a whole lot of difference. But the Stone Edge here with the Choice Scarf, meaning we do outspeed the Mega Aerodactyl. Unfortunately, we don't trap the Mega Aerodactyl, because of course it flies. But we can maybe pressure something else coming in and scare it out, which could be important, because Mega Aerodactyl, as I said, puts in the work against my team. Earthquake on there to kind of just be stab, hit the Victini, hit the Raikou, and hit the Registeel. One thing I do like is that you might be scared out of bringing at least 2 of the 3 of those potentially, particularly the offensive threats because of the Dug Trio. And Scarf definitely outspeeds the Scarf. I guess that's why I was happy to run Adamant, because I'm speed creeping a Scarf Victini, and I'm not worried about Scarf Raikou. That would be why. I don't fear Scarf Raikou. So that's why. Because if Scarf Raikou and he locks into T-Bolt, then he can't hit me anyway. And if he locks into Hidden Power Ice, then I have any number of things that can come in on that. So that's my thinking here. So that's the kind of set. Toxic, as I say, just because if I want to come in a secondary rocker, because his team hates hazards, in my opinion. Things like Victini want to be able to pivot, and they don't want to take 25% from rocks. Sylveon wants to be able to Baton Pass and Wish Pass around, doesn't really want to get one down by rocks. Raikou wants to be able to Volt Switch, doesn't want rocks. And Mega Aerodactyl doesn't either, and his removal in Mega Aerodactyl and Lurantis isn't the best removal in my opinion. If we can Hazard Stack on him, it means that Mega Aerodactyl has to be passive and click Defog, which makes my life so much easier not having to switch in on that thing. And if he even brings Lurantis, it's not the most reliable defogger. So secondary rocker could be important, and you know, Scarf Toxic to hit something like, say, the Suicune or the Sylveon, and just help wear them down late game, maybe, if that's what I want to do. So that's the kind of idea there. Next up, we have the Golisopod, Sean the Golisopod. This is another kind of pivot, so you can see already that we've got with the Eject Button Mandibuzz and the Emergency Exit Sean Golisopod, we kind of throw things out and pivot out into Has H and Harry, who's so key in this game to try and get some momentum against his offensive threats and just chip things down for Beedrill to clean at the end. So we got the Charty Berry here, because basically with the max defense Charty Berry, this thing never takes more than 50% from a Mega Aerodactyl. Even Stone Edge won't do more than 50%. So a Mega Aerodactyl without rocks won't pivot our emergency exit, which means I can hit that boy with a liquidation, and he is not getting rid of me. I don't see, if you have a Mega Aerodactyl in against a Golisopod, I think you click an offensive move. I don't think you switch out. So this is another hard, along with Elliot, another hard Mega Aerodactyl bait to try and hit that thing. Taunt is on here to stop, if we can try and stop rocks. We don't actually speed Registeel, but maybe we'll go for Toxic and then we can stop rocks, or vice versa. Maybe stop the Suicune from setting up on us, so we can go for a sub, but he can't go for a sub and a Calm Mind. Things like that. We can also try and taunt the Komodo, this is the other one that Komodo could set up on, but he can only get to +1 on me, so then I can kind of handle him. I should mention that Mandibuzz here can take any hit from the Komodo that isn't a Z move and Whirlwind it out, which is really nice. And Hazard Harry will outspeed a +1 Komodo at all times with this speed investment, and hit it decently hard with an Earthquake. So that's really, really nice too. And actually, Elliot can take pretty much any hit from that thing. Fighting Stab is going to do a chunk, probably like 50 to 60% from like a +1 close combat, maybe 70%. But Zen Headbutt's going to really chunk it. So we can basically take a hit from most things. And Golisopod kind of walls Komodo in other ways, in terms of Komodo can't do a lot to me without Aerial Ace. I can't do a lot back to him, but at least I can taunt him and stop him from getting 2 set up. Spikes is here because, as I said, his team hates hazards. Aqua Jet for priority because I can really hit things like the Mega Aerodactyl very, very hard with Aqua Jet, which could be important. And last up we have a Serena. Nico the Serena. Finally, my queen is here. She's got the Kebia Berry this time because basically this thing as well kind of takes on Komodo really nicely. We don't take too much damage from anything barring like an Outrage. And the Poison Jab isn't going to hit us super hard because we do have a nice natural defense with 98 defense and okay HP, not great at 72. So we can kind of take hits pretty well. With the Drop Kick, we can drop his attack if we want to catch him on a switch in. But more importantly, we can just hit that Play Rough and watch the Komodo die. Essentially, Play Rough plus like Aqua Jet, I think will kill him as well. So we can put him in pretty good range, or then Scarf has a generic can come in and clean up with the Earthquake. So that's really, really nice. This thing is going to be our hazard removal. We have got Drop Kick on there just to stop the Suicune from setting up on us, and Synthesis for longevity, of course. Queenly Majesty means that we can switch in on Ice Shards from the Sneasel, and if he's banded, then he's locked in and he can't do anything. I don't think he will be banded, but then we can pivot out into something else on the knockoff, say, or whatever. So we can kind of try and play around that a little bit too with the Queenly Majesty. And this attack investment basically, I think, guarantees we like kill most Komodo variants. So that's the thinking with the team here. We'll jump into battle, guys, and see exactly how it worked out. So here we are in the battle, guys, and we can see that he brings the Mega Aerodactyl, the Registeel, the Suicune, the Sneasel, the Sylveon, and the Komodo. So looking at this team composition, it looks to me very much like his only removal is going to be Mega Aerodactyl, of course. His Rock Setter looks likely to be Registeel. He looks like he's got a few setup options in probably the Komodo and the Suicune. Nice that it doesn't look like it's going to be like a Spec Sylveon or anything. It looks like it's going to be a Cleric Wish passing Sylveon on this team composition. And Sneasel looks around just for maybe breaking things or cleaning late game. Probably more likely cleaning things a late game. So I'm like, okay, I actually don't hate my matchup here. He didn't bring the Victini. He didn't bring the Raikou. The major threats I need to handle, the Mega Aerodactyl and the Komodo. And I think if I deal with both of those, I'm in a really, really good position to win this game. So that's what I'm kind of thinking of team matchup. My plan always, shout out as well to Check My Ben for helping me build this week. We did a little bit more intensive building. I really believe this is the best possible team we could have brought this week. So shout out to him for helping me build, and shout out to Strumful as well for helping me mock, because I did do 3 quick mock battles with him, and I won 2 out of 3 of those, and Strumful was one of the best battlers I know, so I felt pretty good going into this that I had a good chance in this game. And I always let off with Mega Beedrill every mock, because even if he leads with Aerodactyl, I have ways of playing around it. So we're just going to lead with the Mega Beedrill. Unfortunately, he does lead with the Mega Aerodactyl. I led well against everything else in his team, barring maybe the Sneasel for Ice Shard. But everything else in his team, I led well with Mega Beedrill against. Mega Beedrill has an amazing matchup here. So this is like, this is the one thing that I didn't want him to lead with. That's fine. We're just going to go hard into Elliot the Bronzong. We can take any hit from this thing. He's probably just going to go for the Stone Edge, or maybe a Fire Fang, but we are Heat Proof. And he actually pops the Crunch, getting our Colbur Berry. So nice play on his part, predicting us not to stay in. I'm hoping here he will stay in and go for another Crunch, because that first Crunch does 27%. So the next one should do about 56%. And he might just value that, putting me low, seeing that I haven't got leftovers. I think there's a good chance he might just value that damage. So I'm going to pop a Gyro Ball. I'm going to say to him, you know, let's do this. And unfortunately, he goes straight out into Registeel. He makes a safe play, and I can't knock him for that. It's definitely the safer play. So I'm just going to get my Rocks up here as well. I'm like, oh, well, let's get Rocks up, because Mega Aerodactyl, if he's running Crunch, if he's got like Crunch, Stone Edge, he might have Wing Attack. Then I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, okay, he might have Roost, he might have Defog, but he might not even have Defog on this set because he's brought Crunch as coverage, so we're going to have to look at that. He might have Ice Fang, you know, so I'm like, okay, let's get my Rocks up early because he may not have any form of removal, and he goes out into the Suicune here. And I'm like, okay, this gives me my Nico for free. He can try and scold me. Oh, actually, I'm telling you a lie. We both make a switch on the same turn. So we both are just getting our rocks up here. And after we've both got our rocks up, I'm going to go out into my Serena because I just want to rapid spin them away. This isn't a prediction that he's going to go Suicune at all. It's just the fact that I want to be able to rapid spin my rocks away. But now the Suicune's in on the Serena, I think he's going to probably switch out. So I just go for the rapid spin here, I believe. And he goes for the protect. And now I'm like, okay, he's got back to 100%. But I think there's a chance, if he thinks I'm going for rapid spin, he might go into the Aerodactyl to try and get rid of the rocks on his side of the field, or to offensively pressure me because it'll eat a rapid spin. He might try and go to Komodo to set up because he thinks that that will eat a rapid spin, or he might even go for a sub here. Either way, it looks like he's got some pretty nice options if I go for another rapid spin. So instead, I'm going to go for the Trop Kick, just to make sure that he doesn't get a free switch into something to give him too much momentum, and to try and put some offensive pressure back on him. And if you can hear my dog barking, I apologize. I'm not usually in a house with a dog when I record. I think I can hear him barking. Here, I just go for the rapid spin again because I think he's either going to protect or maybe go for a safer switch, like the Registeel or something. But he doesn't. He stays in. And here I'm going to Trop Kick again because I'm like, he's going to sub. And basically, with that other rapid spin, my hope was that he would protect, because I'm like, if he protects his next turn to... Is that my dog? Yeah, it is my dog. Okay, I apologize for that. My hope is that if I go for rapid spin here, he's probably going to just go for the sub again next turn, thinking that I'm just going to keep rapid spinning. And if that's the case, I want to kind of bluff him into going for another sub, because all I'm doing at the minute is just chipping the Suicune down. Like, he's down to 63%. He's got to come back in on rocks, and to me, that is so valuable. So I'm in a position where I'm happy to just keep like bluffing that I'm going to kind of rapid spin and actually just go for Trop Kick. Here, I think that he's probably going to go for the switch, so I just go for a Trop Kick again. And he actually doesn't go for the switch. So we managed to get big damage on this thing. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. This time, I believe I just go for the rapid spin again, thinking he would probably go for the protect. Nope, we just pressure with the Trop Kick. Okay, at this point, we're just trying to pressure him. And this time, I'm like, he's going to go for the switch. So we're going to go for the rapid spin, I'm pretty sure. As he's never going to switch in anything that I want to Trop Kick anyway. Yeah, we do. As he goes out into Sylveon, because I'm like, okay, he's seen that I've just been like kind of spamming Trop Kick after I'd got him low. He's never going to go into a Mega Aerodactyl or the Komodo on a Trop Kick. So let's just go for the rapid spin as he goes out into Sylveon. And here we're going to go out into Bronzong, kind of expecting a Wish or a Hyper Voice. Knowing that I can take a Hyper Voice and knowing that I should be able to like Toxic whatever comes in on the Wish. And I'm like, okay, he's got the Wish off. Now, you know, what do I think he's going to go into that I want to immediately pressure? Like, I think that there's a few things he can go into, so I'm just going to go straight out into my Mandibuzz so that I can Whirlwind out any potential setup threats. But he actually goes for the Baton Pass. What is my dog doing? And he actually goes for the Baton Pass into the Suicune, which I wasn't expecting the Baton Pass. I thought it was going to be hard momentum, so that was really not good. I didn't think he would go into Suicune on the Bronzong fearing the Toxic, but obviously with the Baton Pass, he was safe to do that. Just give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to have to pause this recording. And I'm back, guys, and I'm sorry about that weird cut. The music's probably changed and everything for you guys. I've been gone for about 10 minutes. I now have a dog sat down here beside me. And I'm having to use my left hand for the mouse, which is my wrong hand. So if the mouse movements and my clicking always seems weird, it's because I have a dog here now. I have a dog who would not let me record in peace. My mum's out at work, and I've never recorded in this house before. And I think it just spooked him having me sat up here talking to myself. So rather than upset him because he's a sensitive soul, he's now sat in here with me having his head stroked. So if it looks like I'm jiffling weirdly, it's because the dog's annoying me. And if the mouse movement's weird, it's because the dog's annoying me. But there we go. That's the joys of having a dog, I guess. So, moving on from that, let's get back into the game. I didn't expect him to go out into the Suicune here I didn't expect him to have the Baton Pass to go out into the Suicune. So that put me in a really bad position. I'm just going to go for the Whirlwind here because I don't want this Suicune trying to set up on me. And actually what's nice is that it gives me chip on the Sylveon and then chip again on the Suicune. So like, it's not great because obviously he has leftovers and stuff, but at least I'm getting like every percent counts. Every percent counts in Pokemon. So I'm just like, yeah, let me do this. I'm going to go for the U-turn this time because he's not going to sub up on me or try and set up on me, seeing that I have Whirlwind. And we'll go straight back into Beedrill here, and finally we can get Mega Evolution off on our Mega Beedrill. And Stromful can start putting in the work like he can do against this team. I'm just going to go for the Poison Jab here. I don't want to get too fancy. I don't want to make any reads. I just want to try and pop off the Poison Jab and hit the Sylveon. Here, I believe I go for the U-turn because I'm like, okay, there's no way he stays in. He's going to go to Registeel. So here, I believe I just go for the U-turn. And I think I go out into the Golisopod so that I can start setting up spikes on this thing. I want to taunt him to make sure that he can't toxic me, and just in case I outspeed him, like in case he's got like negative speed to try and hit like a trick room set or something, I could stop him getting rocks up, but I don't want him to toxic me. As he goes out into Suicune, I'm like, that's fine, I'm going to get a layer of spikes up, guaranteed here. And I can deal with this Suicune. Yes, it gives him a free sub potentially, but I can deal with that. I have ways of dealing with it. So I'm going to go out into Serena so that I can break the sub on the Suicune and stop that thing. But he makes a really good read there and goes out into his Mega Aerodactyl, obviously predicting that switch. So really nice play on his part. Goes for the Aerial Ace into my Bronzong, which now puts me in range of Crunch. So Elliot is going to go down, but you know, Elliot's done his job here. He's got my rocks up, and he's just pivoted around and giving me some momentum here. So I'm like, that's fine. This kind of screams Scarf Stone Edge, and I wanted to click Earthquake and be brave, but I didn't know him for the Stone Edge because with the Spike and the Stealth Rock, I should 2-hit KO most things on this team regardless. As he actually goes out into Suicune and we miss, and I believe that would have been a 2-hit KO because we are adamant even though it's not stab after the rocks and spikes damage. Certainly would have put him low where he had to protect for leftovers recovery, which would have given us some momentum again. So that really sucks. We go into Serena here and he gets a Scold, and that really sucks, but we have taken one Scold already, so this is his second Scold. Statistically, it was bound to happen at this point. And he just goes for the Protect here. I read that and go for the Synthesis. I was pretty confident he would go for the Protect to try and get some leftovers, especially now I'm burnt. He could try and get the residual damage on me with the burn. And we're just going to go for the Rapid Spin here. I'm hoping that Rapid Spin into Drop Kick will drop his sub. I know that he can start setting up if he has Calm Mind, but I don't care. I have ways of dealing with it still. So I'm just going to go for the Drop Kick here, expecting to break his sub. We actually do not break his sub. And now I'm like, okay, you know, he's just getting leftovers. We need to deal with this thing. So predicting him here to either go for another Calm Mind or a Protect. I just go out into Old World. Worst case scenario, he clicks Scold and actually clicks my eject button, which works perfectly well because this is what I wanted to do anyway. I wanted him to trigger my eject button the next turn so that I could get in Mega Beedrill and I could click U-turn. I guarantee to break this thing's sub always with U-turn. Gives me back out into another threat that can actually hit this thing and deal with it. So, or can just phase him out with Whirlwind. Either way works for me. So we're just going to U-turn out here into the Mandibuzz. And now I can click Whirlwind. He's only at +1, so he can't do anything to me, and it's a free Whirlwind for me. So he's going to do what, like 20 or 32%. That's, you know, we can take that. That's fine. 30%. He gets the burn, which sucks, but Mandibuzz really was here for the Victini, and the Victini hasn't come. We've put this thing down to about 50%, and it's going to come in on rocks and spikes again. So Suicune, once again, has kind of been put out of this game, or at least put low enough where Beedrill can really take it later on. I can roost up on this Registeel. I know that he's probably going to want to get his rocks up, but I'm pretty confident I've still got Serena in the back. A good amount of health at 64 so that I can try and get a Rapid Spin off. We're just going to go for the knockoff here, predicting that he's maybe got the Shed Shell because we haven't seen the leftovers pop, and he does have the Shed Shell. Now this thing is in Adamant Dugtrio range, and we've got rid of his Shed Shell. So I'm really happy with how things are looking. The Suicune is low, got to come in on rocks and spikes. The Sylveon's got to come in on rocks and spikes. This thing's in Dugtrio range and has no recovery or way of getting away. I can U-turn out on it here. We can go into Golisopod. Yeah, we're going to take rocks damage, but that's fine. We can eat this Iron Head, no problem. And I can probably just go for another layer of spikes here, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and we've got 2 layers of spikes up and rocks. I feel like Beedrill is just in a really good place to clean. We go for the Aqua Jet here and we actually crit. Now, I do believe this matters because we are a defensive Golisopod. He was saying after the game that he didn't think it would matter because he assumed we probably had some attack investment because we were max defensive. I do think that crit mattered. Now, as I said before, we actually never took more than 50% from any hit from this thing. So if he went for the Stone Edge there, he would have done about like 30% or 25% or something, and taken us down into emergency exit range after we'd fire off the Aqua Jet. But the Aqua Jet would have put him so low that he couldn't have lived a hit from anything else or come back in on rocks. We would have gone into Dugtrio, had the Scar Stone Edge, and he couldn't have come back in on hazards. So we would have been in a really good position regardless. It just would have meant that he popped our emergency exit and got rid of the Golisopod, and then we would have had a Dugtrio locked into Scarf Stone Edge, which maybe he could have tried to play around with the combo. But nevertheless, we don't get the emergency exit pop, so we do get to stay in. This thing gets to come in, and I am tempted just to kick Liquidation here, but instead I want to try and get rid of hazards, as I expect him to go for a Wish, and he actually goes for the Hyper Voice, and with the Hyper Voice plus the burn, he does just take us out, which really sucks, because I wanted hazards gone, and now I'm looking at the end game and I'm like, this is more difficult because I have to play carefully around Ice Shard. I need to get in the Komodo and get some damage on that as well. But I'm still in a really good shape because Galissapod can pretty much win as well at this point. With a lot of things taking a lot of chip, I can get rid of the Sylveon. Then Komodo is actually in a really good position, and Scarf Earthquake from Dugtrio is looking really, really nice at this point too. So I'm like, okay, all I've got to do is be wary of Ice Shard, and of course, you know, Mandibuzz is still going to take a hit from the Sneasel as well, but that's the only thing I've really got to worry about, so I feel pretty good at this point. I'm just going to go for the Poison Jab here. It baits in the Registeel, and that's one more thing that I can kind of kill, and that's one less thing that he has to switch into. I want to kind of reduce the sacks that he has available to him on his team. As he does indeed go into Registeel, I'm going to click Poison Jab again because I don't need to get fancy here. He goes out to Registeel, and I just click Drill Run, and that's why I don't need to get fancy. Yeah, I don't lose anything by spamming Poison Jab there. I don't get any more momentum. If I had made the read with Drill Run, it wouldn't have made any difference. And now he goes into this thing, and I'm in a really difficult position because I don't kill with Poison Jab here. I would kill with 2 Poison Jabs, but he will outspeed me at +1. And Beedrill looks amazing. Apart from Ice Shard from Sneasel, which he might not even have, but he should have, this thing just wins. So I'm like, what's my best play here? It looks to me when I run the calcs like U-turn into Scarf Earthquake kills Komodo. So I'm like, well, that's my best play then. Let me just go for a U-turn into my Dugtrio, which can then fire off a Scarf Earthquake. And I'm looking at that damage. We do 30%. So it does look like he's got some bulk on this Komodo. More bulk than I was hoping for. But unless that was an absolute max roll with Dugtrio, we should still have a really good chance to kill with Dugtrio here. So I'm not too worried. It really depends what move he clicks here. And if he goes for anything other than Dragon Dance, I can go back into Mega Beedrill and outspeed him and Poison Jab him. So I'm not in a bad shape there either. As he goes for the Dragon Dance, I'm like, okay, I outspeed. I'm going to click Earthquake. And unless that was a max roll, we should kill. Turns out we got an absolute max roll with Mega Beedrill. He lives on 1% with Komodo here. And this turned out to be an absolute max roll as well. So this wasn't a roll to kill him. We actually got double max rolls here. Wild. It turns out he just had a really bulky Komodo. Bulkier than I was calculating for. I didn't think he would have that much bulk to be able to take that. It really, really sucks that his investment was just perfect to take an Adamant U-turn into an Adamant Earthquake. He didn't prep it for that. He thought this was a roll too. It's just one of those neat coincidences in Pokemon where the amount of speed he needed left him the right amount of HP to just take these hits, which really, really sucked for me. It looks like my dog's gone to sleep, so that means I can have this arm back, which is nice. I don't trust him. I don't trust him. Anyway, he's just going to kill me here with the Ice Punch, and we're going to drop. And I'm like, that's fine, because if he's got Ice Punch, that means that he probably doesn't have Stone Edge. Unfortunately, can't just go into Galissapod and click Aqua Jet because of Emergency Exit, and this is the double-edged sword that is Galissapod's ability. So we have to throw in Galissapod here so that I can come in later, but we can go into Mandibuzz. And now we're in a pretty good position because Mandibuzz can take any hit from this thing that isn't Z. We can take an Ice Punch and think a +1 maybe, but even if we can't, we have the Galissapod in the back. So I'm like, okay, it's not ideal, but we can do something about this. And he actually turns out to be Fightinium Z, which is going to KO, and I'm like, damn it, I was hoping he didn't have the Z, but he did. Now we have to go back into Galissapod and take more rocks damage, and now we can fire off a Arcadret. We still should be able to take an Ice Shard from the Sneasel, and with 2 layers of spikes and the rocks, we kill with Liquidation on Sneasel. But he doesn't go into Sneasel, unfortunately. He goes out into Suicune, and now I'm in a bit of a weird position. I believe I just go for the Taunt, trying to prevent him from like going for the sub. I'm hoping that he might go for the Scold here, but he doesn't. And now he's in sub range because of the leftovers chip, and I'm like, okay, that's not good. What I should have done here is I should have Aqua Jetted, and that would have took him out of sub range again. But I think he leftovers recovered more than I did the Aqua Jet. So eventually I think he got a sub off anyway. So I just go hard into Beedrill in the hope that I can try and work something here. If he doesn't have Ice Shard on the Sneasel, that's my only way of winning anyway. I know Galissapod is dead, but as I said, my only way of winning is that he doesn't have Ice Shard on the Sneasel. And at this point, what I've really done here by going hard into Mega Beedrill is, yes, I've allowed him to get his sub on the Suicune, but unlike if I stayed in with Galissapod, I haven't let the Suicune get set up, so we do take that Scold. So now, as I say, if he doesn't have Ice Shard, we win, and if he does have Ice Shard, we lose. And that's really what it comes down to at this point. We're just waiting to see his set. He should have Ice Shard. It would make sense to have Ice Shard, but we just need to wait and see. So we just go for the poison jab again here. We kill this, and he goes hard into the Sneasel. And that says to me, this thing's got Ice Shard or it's Scarf. So we're just going to fire off the poison jab, but he has the Ice Shard. And it pops, and he turns out to be Life Orb, which is kind of what I expected anyway. Oh, he's not Ice Shard. He's not Life Orb, sorry. So he might have been bad, and I'm not sure. But regardless, we do lose this game 2-0 to my man Bash. GG to him. A really well-deserved victory. Now there's a fly in the room. That's because of you, dog. There's a fly coming here because of you. Because I've had to leave the door open because of you. Yes, and you bring the flies in because you smell. Anyway, so we lose 2-0 to my man Bash. GG to him. Definitely a well-deserved win. It just sucked for us that we were just like 1% off because of his set. And it was because of his set. It wasn't the rolls. It wasn't RNG. So really, really sucked. You know, there were some plays late game which I maybe could have made like Aquajetting to stop him from getting the sub here. But as I say, because I think Leftovers recovered more than the Aquajet did it anyway. Eventually, he got it. I had to try and get the offensive momentum to make sure that I won if he didn't have Ice Shard, because anyway, I lost it otherwise, which sucked. And I think there were some better plays I could have made at other parts in the game. For example, I think that here, when I U-turned out, I think what I should have done is I should have U-turned into Gallisopod. I should have popped my emergency exit and then gone straight into Haz H and Harry. The reason being that I was going hard into Haz H and Harry anyway, expecting him to want a Dragon Dance. So I may as well have gone into Gallisopod on the Dragon Dance, taken the rocks, got the emergency exit, because then what I could have done when he killed Haz H and Harry is, instead of having to go into the Gallisopod, as you'll see in just a second, instead of having to go into Gallisopod here, take rocks, and then go into the Mandibuzz, I would have been able to just go straight into Sean and click Aquajet, and Mandibuzz would still be around. And with Mandibuzz still around, and the Gallisopod at a much better range of health, I might have had a better shot of winning. So it was just one of those things where I really thought we were going to kill with a combination of U-turn and Earthquake, and I didn't make the safest possible play by making sure that Gallisopod could come in later without the emergency exit popping. I said at the start of the season when I drafted Gallisopod, it was a weird mon. It was going to take some time to get used to. That was one of those moments. That was one of those moments where I didn't think enough ahead about my own Pokemon's weird ability to get the job done properly. So, regardless, GG to Bash. Definitely, like, he deserves his win for sure here. But I feel like we played well. I won't lie. I feel like I has a stacked on him really nicely. I felt like Gallisopod was solid. I felt like the build was solid. I felt like my play was solid. Maybe 1 or 2 turns I could have done better and we would have won this game. But this was close. This was a close game. Definitely a hell of a lot better than our first NPL game. So let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for your support on the first video. It's been amazing. Definitely the most supported draft content that we've had on the channel. So thank you for that. But we will be back with another game later this week. Hopefully, I'm hoping to have 1 or 2 games this week. So hopefully we can come back with more games later this week. I'll try and get those up as soon as possible. But this was a great game, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the NPL now. Thank you so much for loafing around with me, guys. And I'll catch you again next time.